In this video, we're going to walk through the creation of a new contract template. First, you want to check Create New Template on the Manage Contract Template page. And then we're going to import from a Word document. Make sure that it's saved as the latest file format version from Microsoft Word. And when we upload that, that's going to input the information into our content editor here. We want to highlight where we want to put our dynamic field values. If those values don't exist, like customer name, we actually are putting those into the database here, and we can use them elsewhere in the document. Same thing with customer address. You see there's no data found there, no existing items listed. And then we can expand out the contract to see everything in a much broader sense. And one of the things that typically makes it a lot easier within Anapact for signature blocks of keeping things lined up depending on the size of the signature is by putting things in a table. It makes it a lot easier to control how it shows up as a completed document. As you can see within the table wizard itself, we can come in and set the width of the table, of the cell, how far it stretches across the page, those types of things. We have a lot of different options for formatting as well, as you can see within here. We're not going to do a whole lot with that right now in this video. It's more just to show the basics. And now we just need to go in and actually update our content in here. So adding in the different information that we're going to collect from who it is, who's going to be my signature, both internally and externally. So add in these data fields here. And if your file, your contract template already has tables in it, it will try to import them as best it can. There may be some formatting issues that you need to clean up, but it is just a one-time process on the setup of the contract templates. After we have all our data, now we can delete these extra fields here, and we can come in and start assigning the various values. So again, we can choose our dynamic fields. In this case, we're going to choose the field that we used earlier, which was the customer name. And there's two special field types of dynamic fields, which are signature fields. So you'll notice that we have a recipient signature field. And we also have the signature date, which is going to get captured when they actually sign the document. Okay. And again, we're going to add in a few more dynamic fields here, such as signatory name and signatory title here. And then of course on our side, we need to add the recipient, or sorry, the internal signature and the internal signature date. And then of course we can hard code if we know this particular document is always going to be signed by the same person. Otherwise, you could use a dynamic field here if you want to. In this case, I'm just going to input my name on this as well as title. Okay. And then we'll save this. And when we click OK, it's just going to shrink back down to its normal size. And since we didn't do this at first, we need to give it a name. And we also use our contract types to group different contracts together, as well as control security. And in this case, we've pre-populated a list, but you can of course add to it. So I'm going to choose NDA, and then give it a description if we want something more elaborate than just a name. We do have a certain approver that has to approve contract templates. So we'll assign this to a contract to another person within the organization to approve the templates. And this is just a security measure to make sure things are approved appropriately. And then we can add in different metadata tags. So these are fields that we want to track additional information about the contract. You can see here that we have a pre-populated list, but you'll also notice that we can add additional metadata elements at will. So we can say we want to add different metadata tags in. Then we can come down and set our workflow. We can route for approval, we can have multiple approval steps, and we can send for external review, and ultimately we can sign both internally and externally. In this case, I'm going to keep this very simple. It's a non-disclosure agreement. It's fairly standard, no changes. We're going to send to an internal signator and a recipient signator. And those are the only two steps required with this particular contract template. And now that we have all of our information, right, we can submit it or save it as a draft if we're not quite sure. In this case, we've submitted it, and that's going to go to approval. That is all we are covering from our creation of a contract template. Fairly straightforward and easy.